Alright, so I'm here to just kind of show you guys how the motorcycle gear is coming along. Um, it has probably been close to like 2 months or so. I just ran into a guy who worked a gig with me recently in some audiovisual production that basically I hadn't seen him since we worked with these guys from Colorado that were into bikes as well. I kind of just started leaning towards getting a motorcycle, really just based on like the look. I had some downtime at a gig. I just been working a lot of hours, and it's just something that like just a light came on in my head where I was like, with parking in the city, and just getting older and being like more just aware of like what my level of responsibility is comparatively speaking towards like how capable I feel of like making more money. I came back from a gig that I did in Tennessee that paid pretty well, because like my industry pays well, but the problem is kind of, I would say, like just connecting the dots to getting enough work and also wanting to do enough work. And I don't mean that to say that like I don't want to work, but you want the right opportunities, if you're going to like just say yes to like several days or whatever. You don't want to do several days of loading and putting together things, if you're an audio person. Like if you know how to specifically set up speakers, check microphones, set up drum sets and stuff like that. So basically I'm getting more acclimated in this field. I've always been into production, more like studio things. But even then, it's had its upticks of like good business of, publishing records and putting them out there and, working with bands and stuff like that. So anyway, I just noticed some repetition in like the steadiness of things around here. So I was like, what better time to get into it now? And also I found myself like on a decline right now because I put a lot into just the few things that I've got as far as like time wise, money, and then just shopping for like the best deals, while still getting quality stuff. I started by going like cycle gear, and the guy there, I first, bought a dual sport helmet. And I didn't understand that dual sport didn't necessarily mean a bike that, can ride, off-road, but then can ride on the street. And there's still some people who have said on these forums and stuff that they have, the sort of helmet that works for both scenarios or whatever. But the guy at Cycle Gear basically like just really drilled it into me that, each helmet is so specific to like its use and stuff like that. And I've suffered concussions, whether it was in football or accidents as a kid or whatever. And so I just didn't want to compromise that. So I ended up returning the helmet, even though like it was cheap or whatever. It was still not so much about the money I spent, but like the quality behind it, as well as like it just, the purpose was not there. So I bought a helmet in store. It was too small. After I got home, it was shipped to me because the color I wanted they didn't have in store. Even though I tried on the same size there or whatever, I got home with it once it came to me in the mail or whatever, and it ended up being way too snug because I got to sit down like I am now with it on for about 30 minutes. I noticed it was too snug. And then another thing about the jacket here is that this is a Dianese textile jacket. I removed the inner liner, which is basically just like a thermal layer that like zips around the edge. It's still got all the padding in it. I ordered more padding from Bone, or Bohn, maybe it's Bond. Like it's some sort of gear like brand or whatever. And it's up there, I would say, like next to like these other brands that I'm like starting to become more aware of, like Climb if that's how you pronounce it. I would imagine it's Klim. But anyway, a lot of the forums were saying, like, and again, I know it's New Orleans, it gets hot here, but a lot of the forums, what they were saying was that the mesh jackets, when you do, if you do crash in the mesh, they kind of just get shredded, like almost immediately, versus the textile. So I've worn this several times out. I just got done doing this big festival, and it's like April temperatures. It hasn't been too hot. It was 69 degrees today. Honestly, you needed a jacket if you're going to be outside. It was warmer inside than it was outside at the place I ended up going. But anyway, the textile, I do see it being breathable. When I wore it out and everything, like during the day, I even wore it as things picked up around the festival, you know, having to move barriers and things like that. I did not feel too hot. And as the temperatures did raise, as the sun came out more, it was shining more bright, you know, on me or whatever, you know. I even had like the mesh Magellan like shirt on under this, the long sleeve. And what I noticed was I do tend to sweat, and with the jacket or the mesh on the inside, by wearing a long sleeve shirt, I'll probably end up getting some more. There's another brand I really like, but I had some sizing issues with it. The mesh on the inside keeps like the mesh that's on this jacket from sticking to your skin. And also, because it is breathable, it provides such a stiff outer layer because it is that Cordura fabric, and it's like a shell, and it keeps you insulated on the inside, so you can keep that consistent body temperature, but it's shielding you from the sun. So I would think on top of a bike, going at speed, I was able to wear this on the golf carts and stuff, and it was really cool too because I felt more protected. Even in New Orleans heat, you would feel protected. And there's plenty of times when I've gone out, whether it was in the Magellan long sleeves or whatever, and I feel better in that even in the peak of the summer. And I would think if I get too hot, I will end up taking this off and just parking the bike for a little bit. And maybe investing in one of those like little shell protectors where it comes over your arms and everything like that if it becomes that intolerable. But then you got to think about evening rides as well. So I think I'm going to be one of those guys that ends up with more gear for just more scenarios, you know, rather than just saying this is my only jacket, I'm only going to ride with this in the summer or whatever. But it is a good summer option. And I would imagine the bike gets cold in the winter. So by that time, you know, maybe I could use that extra layer that it comes with, or just switch up to something entirely different. But to get me on the bike, I got this textile jacket from, I'm trying to think of the website, but it was, I think like Custom Racing Suits or something like that. So it's authentic as far as like, they make other suits for like racing and stuff like that. And they're known for that, and then they happen to sell other things like this. And Cycle Gear didn't have any textile that I could find, and on top of that, their mesh was like almost $300 for Dionysi as well. And I was able to score this for about like $115, if not like $130 with shipping. But yeah, and it came in as my size. I went to Cycle Gear and tried it on. Honestly, I thought it would be more difficult as far as like finding the right size and a lot of the stuff as I'm like shopping for it, but it's actually pretty straightforward. I mean, it's just a lot more to sort through, and I think you face a lot more limitations in like variation that kind of is justified through price point. Because, you know, you're not going to find a lot of variety, and then when you do, all of a sudden the price point is, so it's not really justified by price point, but, you know, whether it's a different color or, you know, to find a jacket that has all the padding that you want, it just skyrockets, it balloons, you know. So a part of me ordering a lot of the different pads from Bond is because I really want to finish padding out the shorts I got some, well, they're shorts that, or they're pants that can be zipped off into shorts, but I really want to be able to finish padding these out. They didn't come fully padded out. I bought them off of Mercari. They were like secondhand. They came with knee pads, but yeah, they don't have everything else in them. Like, I'm even gonna get a butt pad stitched into it, or at least the like mesh inserts, and I have a butt pad coming through bone. But yeah, mainly I'm looking forward to like using the thigh protectors and the hip protectors that I ordered that should just go in there. I got Alpine Star hip protectors. It's like the only CE2, or no, they're still CE1, but they just have a better angle to them. I got them on Amazon. I tried the Revit ones. I went into the actual BMW dealership and they fit, but I just didn't like that they weren't like literally like the curvature of the pouches, like for the pants. It just left a little bit of extra space that I was unhappy with. And so I got a new pair of those, whether it's a different fabric or not, or like texture. I also didn't like the little like tiny little dots that the Revit brand had, the BMW had, that they tried on my pants. And then I got the thigh protectors and a pair of chest protectors. I want to say they're like Alpine Star CE2, and they're split. They look like little L's. So I'm also gonna have like pouches stitched into this jacket for that. So we'll see how acclimating my seamstress is. So far, I've had them stitch like a longer side pocket for your phone into them. But yeah, this is the look so far. I got these RST gloves from Moto In, which is a website overseas. I bought the gloves around the same time that I bought these boots. These boots are the Ixon, Ixon instead of Icon, which is like, I guess, the European version of like, or a competitor at least, to Icon. I like how narrow they are, and the toe isn't too pronounced. And I think the cool part about that, let me come down again because I want to be in frame, but this is going to allow you to be able to shift without any trouble, because that's something that the people at Cycle Gear are like super like concerned about, that if I were to just order some boots blindly or whatever, the toe might be too pronounced. I might not be able to shift the gears properly. And yeah, I just like the closure on them. Some of the reviews I read about other boots were that like the closure became difficult, and I noticed they have multiple closures on some of them, like if you got grit into them. So I didn't want that to become a problem. So I found like the most robust, even though it's still the same style, like the lift up and snap, I found a more robust version. And then these, they come up, they don't really come up past my like calf, which I was kind of aiming for, and I've heard that a lot of motocross boots do, but I wanted that protection of a higher boot. This is higher than any other boot in my closet, and then not to mention apparently like they're 100% waterproof, and they still kind of look like normal boots, If I would have gotten like a motocross boot that comes all the way up, like, it would have been nice protection wise, but that's, I feel like, where your pants come in handy for like how protective they are. But it's still rather high, like that's almost to the back of my calf, and it's got some protection there. It's got some protection on the front. I saw some guys that have dual sport bikes, or like a chick even, she was trying to like put it on her patio, and she went up the front of the stairs, like scraped this part of her knee or her shin. And so I would say this is still pretty high for like that sort of incline, if that were to happen to you. So really my biggest concern would be, I would feel like if I was to drop the bike on me. So like it's, really helping like that layer of like bone. Apparently there's a very fragile bone in your body, and like there's like a little mark of like an indentation of like where there's some padding like right here. Same on the other side. But yeah, it's just funny because it's like, as I work throughout the summer and like I can like earn more money, a lot of things that like I've already purchased, like I feel like they need little additions to, or they took a while to get here. So I feel like I'm spacing everything out really well. I did get the lime green color in this. I know it's not really like matching the outfit right now, but I did that mainly for visibility. The helmet that I'm still looking at, it matches the Sistema 2, which I had originally shipped to me from Cycle Gear, and it had that high vis yellow on it. And while I like Harley, I like the Capstone series. They've got like this like army green color that seemed like it was like some special release that maybe they did around Christmas. The modular design is cool. I like the modular design because, again, living in New Orleans, if I'm at a light or something, I want to be able to like pop it open, get a little bit of fresh air, chug some water, you know. So one thing with the Harley is the color, and I wanted that high vis, so I kind of would have compromised for that army green capstone. But as I kept searching for high vis helmets, you know, in between having to return the Sistema 2 after just, you know, the sizing wasn't like what they told me I needed in the store or whatever, which was still a good recommendation to get something very snug, and that you'll fit into it and your head shape will change. But I've had enough hats, I've had enough things that, like, you know, if it's super an aggressive like break-in period, for me it just almost never ends up working out. So I ended up getting resized through Harley or whatever, and they were like, yeah, dude, you totally do wear a 2XL. And then they reminded me like how their color schemes, like, they never really go too light. They almost exclusively only do like the black, grays. They had like a off-white color. And of course you've got stuff that's got like orange in it, with their logo. But when I was first shopping for a lot of this gear, I started seeing, you know, a lot of clash that would come with the orange, because I did end up getting this jacket in red. And again, it was the only textile jacket that I was able to find in this price point with the amenities like the zipper on the bottom. And I know that's more streamlined, but as I was looking, I didn't realize that was such a thing, because as I was in and out of Cycle Gear, I noticed most of their jackets do have it. But it was one of the few that I saw on the internet that had the description of it has the zip off, it's a textile, because I wanted it to be compatible with the BMW pants that I ordered. So another thing about the zippers on the pants and the backs of the jackets, where they're supposed to attach, I have the lower piece that came with this jacket in the pocket right now, and I think what that's going to be used for would be like, I noticed the BMW pants, it's two different like zipper tracks, you know, one's wider, one's skinnier. So this zipper is something that you could basically stitch a seam to towards the top or the bottom as you're attaching it to the pants, so that it is compatible with your jacket. So that's just something to be mindful of. But yeah, I got the gloves. These are more like racing gloves, but again, high vis is hard to find apparently, with the amenities also. And then I can't remember if I found like this to be a truly waterproof option or whatever, but there was, the boots are waterproof, and I had to go back and forth with a couple different brands to find some that had good ratings that were waterproof. But the gloves, here's some spots where, like, even as a kid on like my mini moto and some of the stuff that like just as a skateboarder or whatever, like I would encounter, would be like rocks getting lodged into my palm. So this has two really big palm pads that like I didn't see on too many other pairs of gloves. It's got the knuckles. The guy at Cycle Gear that I had spoke to about a lot of other things was basically telling me like how the knuckles really saved his fist. He had some sort of collision with somebody's tail light, and he basically said that he punched through it. And it wasn't so much that I was questioning him about like these or whatever, but I was like just pointing it out. And just based on the skepticism that I had around like so many other things, I guess he felt the need to tell me that story. But it made me that much more confident in this purchase. Something also that I don't notice on a lot of other motorcycle gloves that this pair has, is the padding on like the tips of your fingers, as well as like closer to your knuckle right here. It's got this little flexible spot, but it's also still padded. It's perforated, so it seems like it would be breathable. And nowhere on this glove do I see sliders, which are like more plastic parts that would be like along the side, which I feel like would be a little bit of overkill for like a street glove. But it's got these extra pads right here, where I feel like the edge of like the bones right here would rub against the concrete if you were to slide. And as I'm feeling right here, it doesn't seem like it comes too far over, but there's still plenty of padding in between that part, this part, and like, you know, just different sections of the glove. Probably the more aggressive style that's probably like not as necessary for like street use is that it's got two straps right here. But then again, I guess you got to think about how easily stuff is pulled off your body if you were to wreck. I got black palms. Everything that I wear, I'm trying to like be very strategic about. Like these pants, for instance, I'm not wearing these when I bike, but I wore these out one day. They're just Levi's. They're like 505s. They're thick, and I wear them like when I do audio visual work because number one, it matches the color of the uniform, but also like they're durable. They're a lot darker than most of the stuff that I was wearing the week when I was out at this festival, and I was trying out the jacket. But there was a day where I was at the festival and I had on the long sleeve blue Magellan, these black pants, and it's just something about like trusting your own intuition, because like while I was in cycle gear talking to the guy about how like the temperature or like your temperature is affected by like the color that you wear, whether it's dark or light or whatever, he was like, dude, if you're hot, you're hot. And while I feel that, I also just, you know, tend to look to try to wear lighter colors, because it's like all the extra stuff that I do, whether it's volunteer work, working as a stagehand, if I'm going to have to be in black, you know, I try to like coordinate it with like some like dark sand colors and stuff like that. Because even during the week of the festival, between having that Magellan top on that was bright royal blue and then these pants one day, like while I'm just sitting outside, it was night and day between the amount of what I felt like my clothing was absorbing from the sun. Like my whole body, like the lower was a completely different temperature than the upper. And it was great to see on a day where it wasn't unbearable, but I could literally just sit out in the sun and notice how much more the dark colors were attracted to the sunlight. And I think that that's something that really just gets overlooked, especially in a place like New Orleans, where you should be doing everything in your power to be staying cool, including picking the right colors that aren't going to absorb the most heat. So the most black you're going to see right now out of some of the stuff that I'm wearing is the palms. And I just take it that the palms of these gloves should be black because of dirt and grime and stuff like that, you know. If I do have to pick up something off the road or tinker with my bike or whatever, and you know, maybe some grease gets on it. But you see some black in the trim here, but again, that was the compromise from the textile jacket. I feel like a lighter gray, and then the red, like, is gonna be some of the deterrents from like the sun being absorbed in your body. But I'll show you the bottoms of these boots. I mean, just to have this much down, like for a hobby in my adulthood, like when I was riding four-wheelers, like my dad bought the four-wheeler, he bought the helmets, you know, those are things that like, not that I took it for granted, but like, you know, there's some energy, some time that goes into that, and especially like, you know, the money it takes to pay for the vehicle itself. So like, this is just really showing me like how to like budget, and you know, I've definitely bought, you know, whether it's the furniture in my apartment or whatever, stuff like that, but to just really invest your time into like one thing and like see how, you know, your funds are shaped and they're going in this direction and everything like that, like it's just really cool to be able to like start and stop, and you know, hopefully I can just pummel right through this, because you know, I like having a lifestyle where I can like, you know, purchase the things that I need for like fun adventures and stuff like that. And something else I've been looking at on these gloves is it's got little perforations right here. So for like as dark of a color of a glove as this, as durable as a glove as this, and everything like that, I would say that they're still pretty breathable. I mean, I'm a little warm in the house right now. It was warm before I even put this stuff on. I just came home from work and didn't have the air all the way turned on. But they're very flexible around the knuckles. I don't think I could have gone a size down at all this is a medium, and already the webbing right here like seems as though like if it were to be any tighter, I wouldn't be able to like accurately like move my thumb. It's a little bit of space right here, a little bit of space right there. All these other fingers seem good. The pinky seems good. There's a little bit of space on the inside there. I think it's that pre-curve where you're running into that. But as I start to curve my fingers, like it fits a little bit better. I'd say just all in all, versus most of the gloves that I tried on in a size medium, like at Cycle Gear or whatever, they're all a lot tighter than this. But I mean, they fit, they look good. RST is the brand. So maybe they are meant to be a little bit looser so that you can like maneuver more as you're like, because essentially these are race gloves, you know, move around and stuff on the bike. But I'd say they fit me as decently as like what a pair of like top of the line work gloves would fit. And you've even got this like little collision guard right here, just an extra patch of like leather on the edge of the fingers right there. Minimal branding. That's another thing about like a lot of the stuff that I've been looking at. Like I really just want minimal branding. You can see the RST on the knuckles. I mean, at the end of the day, enough branding. Like again, because it's like you meet people, and you know, I think it's kind of like a little form of upspeak to be able to like show that, yeah, I've got some RST or whatever, a Diane AC, and it's like a quality that, you know, you can really just come across somebody else wearing and know that you've also invested into the right thing, or you can go out and invest into the right thing. But I mean, these are just my little tidbits. I haven't been doing this hardly at all. I still don't have my endorsement. I can't ride a bike. But I think just from being meticulous and having attention to detail and stuff like that, like I'm coming across some pretty cool gear, and I'll have to let you know how it wears, and hopefully I can continue to make, you know, just as, you know, weighty of purchases for like, I mean, these gloves are about like $80. Of course you could pay 50 or whatever, but I mean, I feel like I saved a little bit from buying a jacket that I got a good deal on, and I was able to spend a little bit more on the gloves, you know, because I feel like maybe a lot of people jump to that $50 price point. But I wanted something for an activity that I'm going to do, which I hope is very often, as protective as it could be, and hopefully they're just as durable and they last me a good while, and then I can justify purchasing them again if I like them that much. But yeah, as far as shipping speeds go, I was shopping for some gloves on the website that I bought these. I bought these from FC Moto, which seems like the most popular website like that's in Europe for a lot of motorcycle stuff. The shipping on the boots were super fast, like maybe like 2 weeks, even though it was from Europe. The jacket, similarly, I would say maybe 3 weeks on the jacket. These gloves took forever. I made the purchase like probably like the next day that weekend when I bought most of this other stuff, and it says it came from Germany, and so maybe that's just a lot farther on the map. But my biggest reason for ordering the gloves from a different website, number one, I did not find this exact model as I was shopping, and then when I did, you know, online, like just on Google search versus like just shopping on Moto or FC Moto, I had already placed the order for the boots on FC Moto, and then I realized, oh, they also had the gloves that like I'm really after now. And at that point, like I was like, well, rather than paying shipping all over again, let me see if I could find ones that are a little bit lower. And I did. There's even like an Easter coupon they had, and shipping wasn't all that much. It was like $15 compared to like the 30 that Moto or FC Moto wanted. Maybe that was just because I got a bigger item from them. It could have been 15 too if I was just buying gloves. But at the same time, as I'm ordering things overseas, you know, I didn't want to run into the problem of one thing being back ordered from another site, because by the time I do go get the endorsement, I didn't know, you know, maybe I could have came up on a really, really good check this week versus what I made last week or something, you know. And here I am with a little bit of time off, and I'm ready to go get my endorsement. I don't want to be waiting on anything, because I know stuff could take up to a month. Even these gloves, I want to say I got an alert on saying that like, you won't be getting them till November. So I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm happy that I had to go through all of this for that. But maybe I would just buy a cheaper pair until then so I could still go get the endorsement. But yeah, I just didn't want that staggered shipping or them to hold one item versus another. So I kind of spread it around from different websites. Ultimately, I ended up paying more, but then again, I didn't find them until I had already placed the order for the boots. So if that's a testament to anything, and maybe you don't care about, if one item gets held versus the next, because that's kind of what the policy was stating on a lot of these websites, then order all your stuff from the same website. And my recommendation to you would also be, I know you're eager to buy stuff as you see it, but definitely sleep on it so that it gives you time to keep shopping. And even if you see it on another website, let's just say that the website that you found your first product on, they might carry it as well. So then you can just kind of like bundle it all, and you're not just waiting for different sellers to get you stuff. But here in New Orleans, it seemed like FC Moto really came through pretty quickly. I got these gloves now. I still got to get me a helmet. I found the Advent 2 in the color that I really like, and I'll be getting that pretty soon. But then again, I'm just spreading out my funds right now. I ordered all this Bond armor that needs to be stitched into this jacket. So, I mean, it still sounds like, a long time and a stretch and everything. But for me to have just been getting into this for like 2 months, I'm this far down the road, and I'm very meticulous. And when it comes to like my safety as well, like I really wanted to find like the right stuff, the right function, whether it's for rainy weather or whatever, I've been able to do that. So yeah, it's been a good journey so far. I've been a little bit everywhere, looking at bikes. I would say I was pretty impressed by Indian. They seem like they're a little bit more compact than say like an 883 Harley, like their Scout, and they're stunning. I didn't grow up in the whole Harley Davidson era. I have some Harley Davidson stuff. I'm still just as impressed by their bikes. They're definitely cool, but I just don't have that zeal to just say that I have to have a Harley. And then on top of that, looking at like Naked Bobs and stuff like that, it's like continuing to pull me away from like, yeah, they've got the 883s and stuff like that, but then that kind of wants me to be on a naked sport bike and stuff like that. So yeah, I like the Indian style. It seemed more compact. It doesn't seem as exaggerated in some of the parts of the bikes that I think a lot of the Harleys are. And for me, I would say just like going into it, being somebody who has grown through, whether it's like a knee injury or whatever, like there's a lot of things that I feel like is just accentuated on a Harley that for me, a person just trying to like have something dependable and to just get on and take off on, like the Harley, it's a little bit showboaty for me, so I'm probably gonna get a lot of hate or criticism for that. But again, my body type, the style of riding that I'm looking to do, I was very sold on the Indian, like the Scout, even after watching YouTube videos of it next to an 883 and maybe one person complaining about one versus the other. Like, still going down there. I can't wait to get the endorsement to test drive them more, and just everything about like the quality that they're putting into, like Harley does the same similarly when I see like I've got like a Harley raincoat and stuff like that, but just the overall fit and stuff, it seems like it's more catered towards like someone with my build, on a lot of their things, whether it's clothing, the bikes themselves, or whatever. But I even picked this up. It's just a little jersey, like bandana. But the irony in this is that it comes pre-tied or whatever. But I've had dreadlocks going on like 10 years now, and there's so many different head wraps and things that I look for my dreadlocks, and for a piece of motorcycle merchandise to literally have been the best thing for like, whether it's keeping the moisture in my hair from when I do a retwist and add oils and products to it, which are all very expensive, it gives it that life, like beyond just a couple of days. Like, I probably have not taken this off since I bought it maybe 3 weeks ago. I wash it, I dry it, I do whatever, but like most days spent, like I just feel so comfortable in this thing. And I have it in, like, I've bought countless neck gaiters that I wear as like just a head covering than I have in this. And it's something about attention to detail on such a minor piece of gear that a lot of people would overlook, brand wise or just as a customer, that that's just one more reason to get into their products. I like how all their shirts feel and everything like that. So it's just a part of being in a community, I feel like. But all in all, because of the price point on that bike, and then still getting into the sportier bikes, I'm leaning more towards like the Honda, or like a lot of their like 500s and stuff like that, mainly for the sake of being able to get it repaired. I was really sold with like Benelli, but we don't have a dealer that's certified to work on Benelli here as far as I know, so your warranty would go out of the window for something like that locally. So it's just some really cool stuff out there, and I look forward to continuing to be like interested in the bikes, and then just being somebody that has a clear enough schedule to be able to ride it and use it for transportation, use it for like a leg up on like saving gas in your regular vehicle, not putting much wear and tear on your regular vehicle, and just doing it as safely as possible, getting around and enjoying it. So so far so good. Again, one day at a time. I'm super picky. You see I've got the Yeezy knit runners right here. A lot of people love the 350s, all kinds of stuff. These you have to size up a size and a half and put an insole in. So it's like the same sort of like obsession and wanting to research and look at reviews about stuff, and then really just pulling that trigger to make an online purchase for the most part, and then it working out. Like, it's super rewarding, and it's just like, it's functional things that just I enjoy, and it makes my life better. People in my life seem to enjoy me a little bit more, and yeah. So anyway, that's my little tidbit of info today. These are super dope. Wearing them here feels super good. Yeah, I look forward to riding.